All right, you chat a little bit, just say whatever.
I can't wait to finish the rest of this Coke today. It's going to be the most amazing thing. One of many.
Yeah.
Okay.
One of many Cokes or one of many amazing things.
It says original taste.
Yeah, I think they've not changed the
It's
recipe.
like each bottle was the very first one that they ever made.
You know, they've changed. I read a thing. They've changed. Pepsi. They've changed the ingredients of Pepsi. I think when I read on Pepsi's website, I was like trying to get the details because they have to be honest about their product on there.
Yeah.
They've changed the recipe 747 times.
Really?
You know how many times Coke has changed the recipe? Never.
Well, they had cocaine in it they once, right?
Originally. Well, they still do, but it cooks out at the plant.
Well,
I don't know if your mic is loud enough. Here.
Why did they cook it out?
Why did they cook it out?
Yeah.
I think it naturally cooks itself out because the rest of the ingredients in Coke, they're so pure and natural. It won't let you get too destroyed from drinking it because it's only a positive experience.
So in a brewery, the workers are called what? Brewers, right?
They're called what?
A brewer.
A brewer.
Yeah. What about like a person that makes Coca Cola? What are they called?
I don't know this one. Do you know?
I don't know.
Well, I think
Maybe a cocaine addict. I don't know.
a cocaine. Well, they have to do they're around it all the time.
The grunt work.
They do. They don't live very long because they have to like really put a lot of effort and a lot of their life into making Coke. It's dangerous.
It's worth it though.
It's
Each
worth
bottle.
it.
Each bottle is life.
I'm ready. I'm gonna have one this morning.
Let's do it.
Is
Let's
it too
have a
early?
drink. Yeah, no. I'm surprised they got it to me before 1 o'clock today. They did.
My God. That is good, isn't it? That's something I never get tired of. That first taste and the last taste too. Well, you like it. You like all the tastes in between.
Well, they tried to sell me on Coke Zero forever, but there's nothing like the original.
No, I've tried Coke Zero, and
It's really not that bad, honestly.
everything Coke makes is good. I can even do a Diet Coke if I'm in a pinch.
Yeah.
I don't love it like the original, but
if you're doing something like Atkins diet or Southwest Beach,
yeah, well,
they might recommend that. But
a friend of mine was on a paleo diet.
Yeah.
And he was only drinking Diet Pepsi, and he was gaining weight, just pound after pound.
On Diet Pepsi?
On Diet Pepsi.
Yeah, I figure.
And it's fake. It's not real diet. And I was like, well, why don't you switch teams? Go over to Diet Coke.
Mm-hmm.
Give that a shot. And he started losing a pound.
He's like Michael Phelps.
Michael Phelps. Yeah. As he attributes most of his success in the Olympics to drinking Coca Cola.
Phelps does.
And it's not against the most steroids and everything else.
Well, that's what people don't realize. The calories involved, there's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're exercising that much, you have to have that to maintain muscle and endurance. He's an athlete.
That's right.
That's what Coke makes. They breed athletes.
That's it.
I don't know.
Gatorade's decent for that kind of thing.
Well,
it serves a purpose, but you can burn up the energy a Gatorade gives you in like less than 15 minutes of hard exercise. But Phelps would swim for 8 hours, and the only drink that he could afford to drink often enough to keep him in the pool was Coke, because it'll last like 3 or 4 hours.
Probably kept him warm too in a cold pool.
It did.
It's like insulation.
Yeah, because the Coke, like you said, the cocaine that was in there, what's left of it kept him warm.
Yeah, the residue. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not enough to show up on a drug test for the Olympic testing committee.
See?
It's really a good drink.
Years of planning.
How long have you been drinking it?
Let me tell you, growing up, my mom was a Coke fiend.
Was she?
And if there was anything to drink in the refrigerator, it was Coca Cola.
Yeah.
That was about it.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, and so even like in the middle of the night when you were thirsty, usually people were kind of like parched, dry mouth. That's what I had. And so I just always realized it quenched. Always.
That's good. And be honest with me, you've had no cavities.
I have had one cavity, honestly, in my life.
And it wasn't the Coke.
No, I mean, I'm 32. I'll be 33 soon.
Yeah.
It was just natural.
Unrelated. Yeah.
One in my entire life.
Yeah. That was just natural because one of your teeth was a little softer than the others.
Yeah. It was probably
like the runt of the litter.
It was a bad gene, probably from years ago. Something happened in my lineage. And I don't know.
And it passed down to that one tooth.
It was probably before Coke was invented, and that's what it was.
That's probably. that one great uncle that never got at me.
He never did.
Yeah, shit.
I'd like to think his name was Jackie.
Jackie.
And he never had Coke.
Jackie never had Coke.
He did.
Uncle Jackie. Well, we're with Mike Anderson here, and Coca Cola is one of our many topics we're going to cover today, or maybe the only one. But,
We could talk about it all day.
Yeah. I met Mike when I was probably about 18 years old through a mutual friend, and we were at a party in Huntington, West Virginia, and I was standing by myself, kind of feeling out of it. I was young and I wasn't really used to going to parties, and he handed me a Coca Cola. First couple minutes, he went out of his way to hand me a Coke, and 12 years later or so, and then here we are chatting on the podcast. So, Mike, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We're going to talk about some stuff here. One that I want to cover for sure, that I want to make sure the listener knows, is that, because I don't know, you're so in character most of the time at these things. I don't know if people realize that you're one of the world's greatest performance artists.
I don't think I realized that either until you just said that.
Yeah, but you are. Last year, we were at a Christmas party, the Tyler Evans famed Christmas party.
That's a good one.
Describe us the party. Just like let the people know so we can set up a good taste of, like people, if we're going to tell what kind of performance art you're doing, let's hear what the party's like.
Well, it's preemptive, everybody knows that it's going to be coming through each year.
Yes.
And so it's anticipated, which is awesome because it provides hope for the future.
That's it.
And so it's eclectic. There's people from different backgrounds and professions.
All walks of life in that house.
All walks.
Yeah.
And it's just really amazing to be able to meet people too each time there's new folks and people maybe you haven't seen in 2 decades. And so it's lots of music, I would say, and it's artist friendly, and it's a place for you to be free and just express yourself.
I'd say I like most about it that when I feel that when I'm there, I know you feel the same way. It might be the one night a year for all of us, for all 77 people that are in the house. It might be the one night a year that you can truly be yourself without fear of stereotyping, without the fear of being put down. You're just free to be yourself for one night, if one night only, and that kind of gets you through the year.
Well, it kind of reminds me of Halloween in a way, but what Tyler has done with the concept is he's taking labels off of calendar events and made it free for any time to be who you want to be.
Right.
At the Christmas party.
That's it. Be whoever you want to be. And the thing is, he doesn't charge admission. The Christmas parties I used to go to always got charged a lot at the door. They were friends of mine, I thought, but they still charged me at the door.
I mean, you can't put a price tag on
what
we're doing.
I think he's finally realized that, and that's why the party's been so good. So the party's really big, and there's lots of people, and there's a karaoke element, and there's lots of food made by a guy named Cutter, I think. I'm not sure where Cutter's from. I mean, I think he's originally from here, but I think he's like a chef in Boston now. Doesn't he work for he works for the Food Channel up in Boston. He's a head chef, right?
Sounds accurate.
You're right. Yeah.
I mean, he was making stuff like bacon wrapped asparagus.
Yeah, it was really good.
And all fresh. I don't know. Some things I've never even heard of.
And he did some prime rib out on the grill.
He did.
Yeah, it was good. Fatty, but in the good way, like the kind of fat you actually want to.
Yeah, it's all balanced by Coke, anyways. So.
Yeah, it's true. Whatever you're having trouble chewing, you just wash down with a Coke, anyways. Yeah, there you go. Get you another one. So, anyways, the party is big, and like I said, there's the food, and there's people kind of chatting in one room. There's people in the basement. There's people on the lawn, even though it's cold. That time of year is typically, it could be anywhere from 10 to 35 degrees.
What's that guy that always brings like fireworks?
There's a firework guy?
Yeah, he's from Fayetteville.
Oh, he does, and he shoots them off the back deck.
That's like his thing. He did a little stand-up too last year.
Zach Stratton.
That's it.
Yeah, so we had a stand-up performer. There's fireworks. There's other stuff going on that makes people feel really good.
Well,
that we can't like.
One of my favorite things about last year was first that I got to surprise you with a gift, and that was a Coca Cola.
Yeah.
And we split it. I had a tall boy,
That's
probably
right.
24,
Yeah.
and we put it in a cup. And Zach Stratton had his head down, and I kind of fished my bottle over to him, hoping that he would want some. But he didn't look at it. He thought I was trying to hand him like hard liquor or something, and he said, "No thanks, man. I got to drive home tonight."
Well,
And we were trying to explain to him, brother, it's Coca Cola. It's not liquor.
this is good for you.
Yeah.
Like, if he was feeling rough, that's the one thing he should have had. Well, he needs to pay attention.
I don't know how how he's got that unique sound. He was
He
like,
does.
"Nah, man, I don't drink." Something like that.
You got a styrofoam cup of Coca-Cola. So we were hanging out, and you can imagine it's kind of loud in the place. And I at one point, I look up, and it's already full force. There's an art auction happening in the house, and lo and behold, Mike here was in front of everyone. All 77 or 85 people or so were just watching him. It's like everything stopped. No one was eating food anymore. No one had a drink in their hand. They were just watching this art show, and you were auctioning off pieces of art from the house that were like hanging on the walls. But this is, I don't know if you know about this, you did such a good job auctioning that art, and it was so real and so sudden that when we got home later that night, Katie, my girlfriend, really thought that you had sold pieces of art that people had painted, because you were advertising it as stuff that people had painted from the Christmas party. Like Zach's girlfriend, you were like, or Zach Armentrout's girlfriend.
Mm-hmm. Charlie.
You're like, Charlie painted this, and it's going for $20. Katie got home later, and she's like, that's kind of sad that Charlie's painting only sold for like $25. And I was like, that wasn't a real auction. I was like, that was just the magic of Mike Anderson. So what inspires you to do something like that, just out of nowhere? Was this planned?
It was not planned, and I wish I could tell you. Most things just pop into my mind.
Yeah.
And maybe fortunately or maybe unfortunately, I react on that quickly.
It's fortunate. It makes for a hell of a performance.
Most times.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's times, though, in life that if you don't rationalize what you're about to do,
Sure.
it could end badly.
Sure.
But, yeah, I saw the picture on the wall and immediately connected that to the sound system and karaoke and knew that we were about to have an auction and thought Tyler might not really appreciate us selling pieces of his
Right.
furniture
That would make sense.
and his home decor, so I thought, yeah, we should definitely do that then.
Yeah, and he actually, you know what? He actually took to it. He helped auction things off, and I think even he wasn't necessarily the auctioneer, but he was like helping facilitate it. So I was pretty proud of him. Again, that might have pissed him off if that had happened in November, but at that Christmas party, it's all okay for one night.
Well, the first picture that we auctioned, didn't he say that maybe like his grandmother had made it? It was pretty sentimental.
Yeah.
And we sold it for $20.
$20, and for all we know, it's sitting in an antique shop somewhere right now.
I don't know. Yeah, it's hard to tell.
It's hard. So that there might be some things that there might be some consequences to you acting that quick, but all the greats, they walk stuff to the edge.
It's classic ABC model.
True. That's it. What's the ABC model?
ABC model is within cognitive behavioral therapy.
Yeah.
A, an event happens. B, an emotion occurs. And C, you react off of your emotion and not the event.
Man, how do is this related to your job?
It is.
Tell everyone a little bit about what you do.
Well,
you don't have to go into detail if you don't want, but the listeners are curious. Hold on a second.
I'm actually a psychotherapist, and so I help individuals with behavioral health needs, anywhere from depression, anxiety, PTSD, bipolar disorder, grief, you name it. And so a lot of times my job is to help access parts of conscious and subconscious.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that in turn helps me to be creative as well.
I like this.
Because I'm constantly just thinking and listening to people about their internalizing thoughts and helping them to express themselves and to externalize.
Let me ask you this. When you talk to people, obviously it's like a job setting, but you're still having like very real conversations with the people. It's
Very real.
almost even more real because to them, they're like seeking help.
Absolutely.
So Don't you find that like when you, because like if you're just like hanging out with people, or you're with family or something, it's kind of like the constant, you listen to someone, then you have something to say. But when you actually have to listen to someone closely, and you're like, oh, their like health depends on it, you like really become like an awesome listener because you have to. And then like that almost to me makes you like, you end up like realizing like how good it is to like listen to people. Like, don't you like feel like a better, like your brain functions better after you listen? It feels better to speak sometimes, you know what I mean? But listening to people, I feel like you get more creative and everything from that.
I think something that has really occurred as of late, and I have to credit my my coworker and a fellow that I'm supervising for his license, Jason McVeigh. He came to me about 4 weeks ago or 5 weeks ago, told me he heard a study on the radio that said, it was from a university, but I'm not sure which. He said 95% of the time, human beings are either thinking about the future or they're thinking about the past, and only 5% of their lives they're thinking about the present. And so, you know, we've talked about mindfulness for years, but that really adds to what you're talking about in helping people in that moment to be just completely in the here and now. And to get away from the rumination of the past and the worry of the future. And
because
so
that stuff technically doesn't exist anymore, either one of them, because you can't control either one of them.
It's true. Yeah. The only place that it exists is in your mind, and you know that's where it's trapped unless you process it and realize that you have control, and that doesn't have control.
Fascinating. Multifaceted Mike Anderson, performer, psychotherapist. Now listen, talking about mindfulness, it makes me want to ask you a question. You don't mind if we go a little deep on this show, do you?
Let's do it.
We go deep. On this show, just for those if you just now tuned in, it's People I've Known for a Long Time is the name of the show. So we tend to get deep here because I've known these people for a long time. But mindfulness, do you teach teach and or believe in some meditation techniques like mindfulness practices, and or do you try to get away from that? Like, what is actually like is your approach?
I think it really depends on the individual that I'm meeting with, and if they are, you know, coined psychologically minded. It really just depends on that. If I feel like that meditation would be a good thing, sometimes we can do stuff like guided imagery. Never have really been a fan of hypnosis, and maybe that's probably not even what I would say ever has been in my practice.
Now, what's guided imagery?
Guided imagery is kind of like meditative relaxation state where I'm kind of going through a script. The individual's just totally relaxed, you know, eyes closed. I've got a constant noise machine in the background, white noise, and I'm just really focusing on the tone and pitch of my voice and the rate that I'm delivering the message. And it's totally geared toward helping people just to let all their stress, you know, in their mind and in their bodies just melt away, and just have, you know, half an hour of just total relaxation.
That's awesome. That's really cool. I've not heard of this before. It's like a guided meditation almost, but it's really cool. And you said you like follow like a certain script that's like it's like made to do its like job.
It's made to do its job, absolutely.
Recently, I don't know if you heard this one, but I'll give it a short plug here. But me and Katie and a friend of ours, to go back like 5 years or so, maybe even longer, I'd heard about transcendental meditation, and I'd read like essentially it's like a 20-minute a day, twice a day practice that you do to. They show this classic brain map, and they show what your brain looks like when you're awake, and then they show your brain what it looks like when it's asleep as far as the waves. Like, what's it, an EKG or an EEG? What's it? Which, do you know what that? I don't know the name of that particular test, and it shows like when you're awake, these like crazy staticky waves is like what your brain like generates on paper when they like measure this, and then when you're asleep, it's like 20 to 30% less, but it's still super active. So like TM practices, it's like you don't actually ever get any real rest, because even when you're asleep, your brain's resting, but only 30% resting. So the TM technique is supposed to, once you learn it, is supposed to eliminate brain function altogether without killing you. But like everything goes almost completely silent once you like quote unquote like transcend. And so we took a class recently, and I've been practicing it twice a day for a month, and it's cool because when you're doing it, you really can feel your brain come to a complete, like, quiet place. I don't know the benefits yet. I've only been doing it for a month. Like, I'm starting to feel them maybe, but it's been really cool just to experience how quiet your brain can get when you do it. It's like there's nothing there all of a sudden.
We need that break.
Yeah, for sure.
And you said 20 minutes.
20 minutes twice a day.
You know, probably in the last year or so, you can get on the internet and look at, you know, Harvard Medical, Stanford Medical, anywhere, and see the evidence-based studies that they've done to show that being reduced in anxiety,
Exactly.
it for 20 minutes a day, they say, effectively lowers your cortisol levels, which decreases anxiety. Just because maybe like a prescription.
The stress hormone. It's like
stress.
Yeah, yes. Like it builds up in people, I guess, and so like if they have chronic cortisol problems, their brain is just like rapid firing stress, even when they shouldn't feel stress. It's just like a constant.
Naturally, cortisol is at its highest in the morning time, and it's supposed to naturally decrease throughout the day. But yeah, you find these people that, which is probably, I feel like almost all of us anymore.
True.
That you know, the world is so busy that our cortisol levels could be just firing, you know, all the time.
All the time, and it's like in an unnatural way, because like you said, it's supposed to start off semi-high and then fall off, and by the time you're going to bed, you should be like pretty relaxed, and then you start your natural sleep cycles, and then when you wake up, you know, and it falls back off. But if people are stressed, it's just constant. So the idea being, you know, 20 minutes twice a day is like a reset button, because if you can shut the brain off just for that long, it like slows the process down to where it's not just like rapid fire anymore. So maybe if we do another one of these shows 2 years from now or a year from now, I can tell you if it's had good effects.
Definitely.
But it's been cool to try it out.
To know yourself.
Yeah.
To be fully aware of how you tick.
Yeah.
Is so important. That's foundational stuff to how you can be in better control of you, and not to let things that aren't real control you.
So this is really cool. What made you get into this? Was it just like something, like what was the moment? Do you remember like when it clicked? You're like, I'm interested in that sort of thing. Because I knew you in college, and you were into criminal justice stuff, and you studied at Marshall University. What was and you're wearing your Marshall shirt right now.
That's right. Go Herd.
That's right.
Well, once I finished my undergrad, I got right into addictions counseling. There was an opportunity in Huntington to do that, and it worked, and I really enjoyed my time there. And about maybe even less than a year, 8 to 10 months, I realized that I really needed to go back to school, and I had talked to people in the field, and of course my mom, you know, as well, had been in the field for a long time, and it just seemed right. I felt like this is what I want to do. I want to help people in this type of setting, not in particular just addictions, but just, you know, grand scale. And so, unfortunately, at the time, Marshall didn't have the program. They do now, which is awesome. So I applied with West Virginia University for their master's.
I'm a WVU man anyways, so
okay.
I like that you've done both. That's pretty good.
I get to talk about both. This is for their master's in clinical social work program and direct practice. So this is more so like individual therapy type work.
Cool.
So it was a 3-year program, part-time, you know, while I was working, and my wife and I were getting our start, you know, in life, and so I finished that and had several jobs, you know, outpatient psychiatry, Beckley VA, and then where I am at now in Summers County at the hospital. Just really kind of, I guess it happens probably in a lot of people's careers, they just hone into exactly what it is that they want to do, and maybe, you know, put their faith in perspective, and they're where they're supposed to be, and that's where I, you know, was fortunate enough to land in Summers.
Well, see, I'm impressed by that, because I feel like most people, or not most, I don't have like a percentage, but I feel like a lot of people don't figure out like what it is, and they're just kind of like, I mean, I've got a job, like, and it's sort of what I can tolerate or something like that. So it's actually really good that you like, it's really cool that you like were able to find the thing you like feel good about doing. You know what I mean? it's a hard thing to do for some people, and I think knowing, like you said, like knowing who you are actually, like helps that. Because some people, if you don't know who you are, like how would you know if you're happy with your work or not? You don't even know exactly what you want out of everything. So
I don't think there's a ceiling.
yeah,
We can be content. Change is a constant, so
yeah.
we just have to be adaptable. And where I'm at right now, I could stay in my mind for the rest of my career.
Yeah,
So that's
awesome.
we just kind of have to wait and see. There's no worry about it. It's just kind of like riding the good wave, and each day you take it as it comes, and just have fun with it.
I love it. My mouth's getting a little dry. How about you?
I've been slaying this Coke.
You've been slaying it?
Oh,
That's good. I need
man.
to get one. Man, this reminds me, too, not to get back onto Coke too hard. But
This is number 3 for me. I mean, it's just
This morning?
Water. Yeah, it's like water. It just goes down.
it's only, 7:30 a.m. I've
Right.
had 2. This is the start of my 3rd. You've already had 3. This is the
I've
start of
had
your
3.
4th. Yeah. Man. Well, I mean, they're good for you, so it doesn't matter.
Well,
How many do you, like, finally max out with, like, before bed? Do you ever cut it off, or you keep one by your bed? I keep one on the nightstand because I do wake up dry.
I'd say 18
18?
is a fair number.
Okay.
And that's before noon. And then I'd say in the afternoon, I kind of, cut it down a little bit because, well, it's, money doesn't grow on trees.
That's
and
true.
Coke is a business, and they have a good business
Right.
model, and I'm not.
And it's practically for free. Like, they really have.
Well-
They've made it. They've made it easier for folks like us that really love their product, but it still does cost money. They have to, or they can't make it anymore. It would be.
I think that where the system has gone sideways, when we think about a great business, we think about how profitable they are. I mean, we're being serious here. The Social Security system is an upside down triangle because the population in the baby boomer decade era, whatever you want to call it, was so big.
heavy. Top
We can't
heavy.
support that.
That's
As
it.
we move forward in the future, there's not enough people paying into it.
It's like a 500-pound man with like a baby's legs.
What I think will end up happening in the future is that whenever Social Security is on its last leg, that Coca Cola is going to bail them out. We're talking big bailout here.
That's so funny.
Like
you
the
said
government and GM, Chrysler, what
That
have
is-
you,
That
Enron.
is so funny you said that because just yesterday I was having a dinner in Huntington, West Virginia, back to our alma mater, and I told a guy at dinner the exact same stuff. How when Social Security, when the system fails us, the only thing that's going to take care of us is Coca Cola in the end.
I don't think that we're the only two that think this.
No,
I mean,
it
I
can't
think
be.
this is kind of like an unspoken, truth, maybe, if you want to say.
I think a lot of people are afraid to give Coca Cola that much power because they're like, well, it's a soft drink. I'm like, well, they're simplifying because it's much more than a soft drink. And I think that a lot of people, like you're saying, a lot of people know the truth, but they're kind of afraid to embrace it. They want to think that like religion or a change to like a socialist system could help. There's a lot of different theories, but I agree completely. When the system fails, there's going to be one thing that's still rock solid.
What we need to do is figure out who the current CEO of Coke is.
Yeah.
And the name has eluded me, which is unfortunate, but my next phrase is bold, but I would say next president.
Yeah.
Next president.
Well, he might be too humble to put his name in the ring, or what name in the hat, because the guy's just I think he knows what he's doing, and the position he's in the company he's in is as important as the president of the United States.
I would say. I mean, the economy, that's
Yeah.
what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
Somebody once asked me, how is wealth created?
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
well, the answer is natural resources, land, oil, so forth.
Yeah.
But I think that what we've seen in the last 2 decades, maybe 3,
Mm-hmm.
is that Coca-Cola has kind of put its name in that category of wealth.
Yeah. Absolutely.
With oil and with
Right.
land,
Mm-hmm. And
etc.
But there's no, and the thing that's nice about it, it stays silent. People don't really think of it in that regard. But with oil, it serves its purpose and it generates wealth. But you've heard lots of criticisms of the oil industry, and and people are worried environmental things, and there's so many things that like generate wealth, but they have negativity like comes with it. But you can't say one bad word about the Coca Cola company. I can't.
I've never heard a bad thing.
I've never heard a bad thing, and I've read nearly everything about the
there's
history,
people,
and there's nothing.
Well, there's the Pepsi industry, who I think, that's what we're talking about, direct competition.
They skew everything. Have you tried to buy a Pepsi lately? Have you went to the store? I mean, not that I tried to buy one. I would never. I'm years past that, but I just looked at the price.
Let me put it to you this way. Whenever I'm in a drive-thru, which is rare, but sometimes you got to pick up a meal.
Yeah.
If you, for the places, if you're not too keen on what product they sell, if I go to a drive-thru and I ask for a Coca Cola, of course,
right,
and they say, "Oh, sir, we only sell Pepsi products," then I drive away.
Yeah.
I don't even,
You used to probably sit there and like try to get a drink in, but you can't even do it.
I try to figure out Siri, I miss, do I want that, something, but no.
Nothing.
No.
I don't want any of it either. Yeah. No. I'm with you. And like I said, the last time I even just looked at the prices of Pepsi, it's like 17 times of that of a Coke. You know what I mean? If you look in like a cooler in Walmart, just like where you're like thirsty and you're like at the checkout line, Pepsi is just absolutely outrageous. They have just absolutely, they think it's going to drive their stock up or something, but I think the buyer at the end of the day will know the truth.
Well, I think Pepsi has some kind of crazy algorithm, like, not real math. And this is how they generate their business. Right. I mean, it's a joke.
It's crackpot mathematics, yeah. Well, last year we went on a float trip down the was it New River or Greenbrier? It's sort of the New and the Greenbrier kind of collide, right?
Yeah, they connect in Hinton, past the Bluestone Dam.
Yeah.
And so we were maybe on the Greenbrier for a little bit of the trip, but mainly the New River.
Right. And I wanted to get this off my chest during the show today because Mike was with me the whole time, and I thought it'd be a good time for us to apologize. But on that trip, we drank about 67 or so Cokes that day, and Tyler was with us, and he drank a few himself. Not as many as we did, but he did drink like 5 or 6. But we let a lot of Coke into the river because it's a rocky ride. It's not exactly whitewater, but like there's some rapids, and we like would spill a little bit of Coke, and I thought like we just like to apologize to the river committee for messing things up. But plot twist here, they actually reported their numbers last August, which is we went at the end of July. The fish had never been healthier. The water had never been clearer. The water levels stayed naturally right where they're supposed to stay, and I can't prove that it was us, but I think it's safe to say we had something to do with it. So I just wanted to let you know. I hadn't told you that yet, Mike, but
well, it's funny that you bring that up because I didn't look at the fishing reports or the water report, but I have a great interest in snakes, and I had actually looked at the report for 2018. That stated the eastern milk snake was on the rise again in that area. I think that they were endangered, but it's weird because they actually started mutating a little bit. They now have haircuts on their head.
Have hair?
Yeah, the females, they have pigtails, the snakes, and the men have comb overs.
That's nice. Well, finally, because with most snakes, you can't tell the difference between a male and a female. It's frustrating.
But now you can.
Because if you want a pet snake for your kid and the kid wants a boy snake, there's no way to know. Unless you got an eastern milk snake. Is that eastern milk snake?
It was eastern milk snake, and in my thought process, what Coca Cola did is it generated the economy, because if you think about it, these snakes are going to need haircuts, so you're welcome Matt's Barbershop.
That's right. They've cut more snake hair this year than they had in the last 60 years in 1 year. And it's cool too because most of the male, I did see this, I'd forgotten about this, but I saw this on the news. Most of the male snake hair naturally grows into a crew cut if it's left. Not that everyone wants their snake to have a crew cut, but it's cool to think that like your snake just naturally heads towards like the crew cut.
I think flat tops, crew cuts, bowl cuts, mullets, you name it. The best of the best. Now we can say, because of Coca Cola, have landed on the Eastern milk snake.
Thankfully. That's good. I'm glad we pointed that out. That was really good. To pivot here, well, let's see, I checked my notes to make... Oh, there was another thing that I wanted to talk about. So, enlighten me a little bit about... I was on Wikipedia the other day, and I was doing what's called a random search, because I think Wikipedia is pretty valuable to just... if you got something you're curious about, you can look it up. Some people say, well, it's not super accurate, but it's like 97% accurate, and that's good enough for the average guy.
Give them their money, folks. Your money.
That's right.
A cup of coffee, and keep them running.
Keep them running. I do. About once a month, I give $3 or $4. I think it's, our duty if you want that knowledge. So I do a random search, and I just was, so every day I get like a random page from Wikipedia to read about. And I recently came across one that I'd never heard anything about. But it was like something called money water. It was something called money water, and it was talking about the health benefits of money water. It was talking about that only the rich and wealthy have been exposed to money water for the most part. And I was like, what? What is money water? And then I remembered I've laid witness to this one time in my life, and this was also something Mike Anderson had up his sleeve. So tell us a little bit about what money water is, because I know now that we've talked about the Wikipedia page, everyone's kind of wanting to know.
Well, and you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that visually in our minds, when we wanted to start this in our area, we had visualized Brendan Fraser.
Brendan Fraser.
At a cookout.
The actor.
The actor.
From The Mummy.
From The Mummy.
Encino Man. Can you name a couple others?
And Bedazzled.
Bedazzled. Well, yeah. You can stop there, because that's his reigning achievement. That's good.
So this was in our minds, and we thought...
You and... Oh, well, I guess you're right. I'd forgotten.
It was the two of us.
Yeah, we did this. I did this. Yeah, okay.
We were talking about Brendan Fraser and how, he probably would have a good cookout. Mm-hmm. And hard to tell what would be on the grill. We know it would be in the cooler, Coca Cola, because he's a cool dude. Sure.
He's trustworthy as far as that goes, yeah.
But his guests were enamored because he had made, what would be the container? I don't even recall.
It's hard to speculate.
It was like some kind of golden chalice bowl.
Right.
Where
this is prime height of Brendan Fraser's fame days.
Peak career, which, probably at one time was top, I'd say, in Hollywood.
Top actor. Yeah, I can't say it right. I was so excited about it. Top actor. He was at one point on most lists. If you Google greatest actor of all time, most awards, this and that, Brendan Fraser topped every list. So we're thinking of Brendan Fraser around this time period. Now he's probably number 3 or 4 in Hollywood. But at the time,
he's had some setbacks.
But he's still, top 5, easy.
He's got the soul patch still, I think he's doing okay.
Yeah.
But he had this area where whenever he felt like it, that he would have money, dollar bills, 10s, 20s, 100s, what have you, in a container of water. And he placed both hands. He submerged his hands in this water. He would tilt his head back like a Pez dispenser, and his eyes would roll back a little bit. And he would make a bold statement. I can't recall what all bold statements, in our minds that we thought he would make, but probably something like, "This is it."
This is it. I think that was it. Yeah. Yeah, his eyes were rolled back in his head. Hands submerged, warm to hot water, maybe even.
Money water.
You can feel the bills going across your knuckles, tickling the underbelly of your palm, and this is it.
This is it.
So, with this, and I don't know if we channeled what had actually happened at Brendan Fraser's barbecues, but I feel like it was a very real feeling, because we both thought of it the same day, same time. We both text each other at the same time, being like,
1, 2, 3, money water.
It just happened. So I think there's like, this is a real, like, absolutely like a real thing. And so speaking of Christmas party last year, Jack Whitaker, who if you're a West Virginian listening, I don't even need to do this, but since this has got such a wide audience and since it's spread globally, Jack Whitaker is a multi-millionaire that became a multi hundreds of millionaire kind of guy.
Endorsed by Coke.
He had
Sky's the limit.
Pepsi wanted him.
Money water.
Everything. So he became this hero locally, and he always wore black from head to toe, cowboy hats, leather jackets, boots. He had the works, and he was so rich, but he just gave so much charity, and he gave so much love to the community that he lost almost everything. And if we had to guess, through that level of charity, he's probably down to about $500,000, which is still good. But
he still has his receipts. So,
yeah,
you know, you never.
He's
You can
got a lot of IOUs from people.
You can rebound from that.
Right. But at one point, he might have had $360 million. It's said. It's, you know, the history books say. And so this guy came to Tyler's Christmas party last year. He must be a friend of yours, because he's come to several of the party. He used to come to your Halloween parties. He's been to your birthday party.
Well, you know, it's weird. I thought he was a friend of yours. And, well, actually, to be honest with you,
I may have brought him one time, but I don't know.
I don't know how he's connected to us, to be honest with you. I always just assumed that he was a friend of somebody else.
Oh, no,
and they all maybe assumed that.
And I thought he was a close friend of yours.
Well, what was he doing there?
I have no idea. Well, but regardless, I think he's been at 5 or 6 of our parties before.
Easy.
Yeah.
Easy.
So he shows up last year, and again, I went to the bathroom, or I went to talk to someone, and I rounded the corner to the karaoke room. And there's a karaoke room where people have also sort of turned into like a makeshift dance floor. So there's music playing, people are dancing. It's foggy in there, things are like really happening. The party's in full swing. And lo and behold, in the center of the room, there is a stool and a clear glass bowl right in the middle of all these people dancing. A very strange place for this steaming hot bowl of money water. And I thought I'd died and gone to heaven.
That thing had to be microwaved for like 2 minutes and 30 seconds.
Yeah,
it was
perfect,
piping
it? It was
hot.
perfect. And who did it? Was it you or Jack?
It was not me.
It must have been Jack. So Jack was hip to money water, and he kind of introduced it to the rest of us. Not to us. Mike and I already knew about it, but we were just like relieved. It almost felt good to finally see it at a party, because we were going to get to share it with everyone. And I kid you not, people were confused. They're like, why is there a bowl of steaming hot money water in the middle of a dance floor? But what happened?
But then what happened next was transcendent.
It was transcendent. That's the perfect word.
Maybe we walked out for what seemed like a blink of the eye, and we came back in, and people were in line.
This is real.
They were full of cheer and camaraderie, and they were so blissful in watching each individual soak their hands in the ultimate.
By the time the line ended, we had to reheat the tepid water back up to a hot, because by the time the 80th person got to the money water, it had already cooled off considerably. So we had to put more money in it, and instead of icing your drinks, you kind of got to heat the money back up.
Money water is just like life. I mean, you can't let it remain stagnant.
Right.
You have to jostle it up every now and then.
That's absolutely true. We'll I know there's like a lot of Halloween parties coming up. We're in September now, and I don't know when this episode will air, because I've got to do some editing and everything, but hopefully I'll have it out before Halloween, but I'll definitely have it out before Christmas. So if you're listening to this and you're looking to spice up your holidays or give it some meaning, give them the recipe for how they can have some money water at their house. Just because you can use this anywhere. This is not designed to alienate anyone. If you want to do it at a family Christian Christmas gathering, that's fine. If you want to do it at a pagan Halloween ritual, that's fine. You can, and everywhere in between, you can use it. But I'm not sure what the recipe is. Could you, Mike?
Well, here's the thing. Not all of us have $100 bills laying around. So even for that modest party, you can set a $1 bill aside each day for the next 30 days. and you're going to have enough for money water. But if you want to impress and you want to make sure that people know who you are and what you're about, you might throw in a 5 and a 10 spot in there. A 50 and 100, it just, there's no ceiling for that.
For sure.
And so collect 30, so you need a standard month, a bill of some sort every day. And then, like you said, David, before, keep it warm. Don't let it cool off.
Don't let it cool off. It won't absorb into the skin or the bloodstream.
And where we probably went wrong, where we went south, is that we didn't have a hot plate. And in the future, that would just solve
we'll do
the
that
problem.
This year.
Hot plate.
You're right. Because then, instead of it reheating, because the more hands that have been soaked in it, you don't want to you don't want to empty the water out and refill necessarily. You can do that. That's what we had. We were forced into doing that. You'd rather it be like the more hands that are soaked, the more money that is introduced into the water. If you can keep that warm, what's happening in that bowl keeps getting better and better and better.
And it can be recycled too, folks. From what I understand, is that after you're done, you can bottle it, and I think that your local Ulta store will buy it.
Yeah,
from
Katie
you.
works there, and she will attest to it.
And
in a heartbeat.
People can use this as moisturizer.
Oh my God! Actually, I read if you do they did a money water party where there was like 300 folks at this big, like, it was after the Oscars last year. They had a money water party for the winners and the it fails me now, but the Academy itself, the winners, and then all the nominees. They all went to a party, so there's like 200-300 people there, and there's a lot of big bills in Hollywood. I think it was straight 100s, and people soaked all night. Didn't even talk much. They just pretty focused on the.
Can you imagine 20, 30 years from now, Bitcoin water?
Oh my God,
that's probably the next phase.
Yeah, that's probably it. Bitcoin water. You're right. It's weird because you won't be able to see it, but the effects will still be there.
Yes.
Digitized money.
Digitized water.
That's a really great idea. We might need to.
We're on to something.
Yeah. So they soaked their hands in it for a while, and from that night they bottled a lot of that water. They shipped it to Ulta's on the West Coast, and it cured acne in like 17 different counties there for a while, and then obviously the product ran out.
Well, I think even in Mexico they're testing it right now on swine or pig, common, for hernia problem.
Man, it's beautiful. The modern marvels of science and medicine.
Yeah, it's something every day.
Yeah.
I think Coke really generates just the brain productivity, gets us off limbic system, puts us in frontal cortex, amygdala type thought, and we just absolutely juice. But, people, if they don't want to have Coca Cola in their life, then I don't know what to say.
It's nothing. They know the truth. You feel it. Every man, woman, and child knows about it, and they feel it. They can accept it, or they can hide from it. At this point, you can do Pepsi, you can do water, you can do whatever you need to do, but there's no substitute. And speaking of Coke, I know this is a good time to get there, but I thought about this recently. There's a film that I watch every year, coming up on Halloween. Ernest Scared Stupid. I love it.
That's so good.
I love all the Ernest films. Jim Varney is one of the best entertainers in history of American film. I love this guy. I read a book about his life, everything. Really into it.
I don't think he was never really that understood for what he really was, right?
No.
You said performing artist earlier.
Yeah.
I mean, where do you think we get motivation from?
That's right. Exactly.
Holy cow.
It's probably one of your biggest inspirations, right?
Jim Varney is incredible.
Yeah. So,
I mean, who were his friends? A-listers. Brendan Fraser wasn't around then, but if he were,
he would have loved to hang out with Jim. They're in the same. They're in the same boat. Yeah, that's a beautiful thought. So I watched these movies, and I was reading through the credits of Ernest movies recently to see who the directors and producers are, because I like film and I make films myself, and so I was like, and the guy that directed most of the early big Ernest movies, his name, and maybe he did all of them, I'm not sure, but his name was John Cherry, which is a great name. But his partner, and there was a couple other people along with Jim Varney, but his partner that produced the films and helped write some of the movies and maybe even directed one himself, his name was Coke Sam's.
Really?
Yeah. And it's just spelled just like the classic drink, C-O-K-E, Coke Sam's. And I actually contacted Coke via email to see if he would let me do like an earnest documentary for like YouTube or something. He seemed interested. He hit me back a couple of times, but it kind of fell through. I'm hoping that we can kind of work something out one day. I got to prove myself to him, I guess. But anyways, so from Coca Cola to Coke Sam's to Jim Varney, that reminds me of a great song that, to showcase another talent of Mike's, because not only is he a performance artist, but he's a great singer and guitar player. So let's kind of end this show with doing a Jim Varney song. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that sounds like a good idea. I haven't done it in a while, and I bet you haven't either.
No, it's all right. We'll work it out.
Maybe we can just find the perfect
We'll knock it out
way.
first try.
Almost. Which one do you want to do?
I want to do Time Waits for No One.
But you know what? That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
And if we could just bring it back to that original scene, 1982, high collar Myrtle Beach couch, I believe, is where it took place.
It did. And Jim was sitting Indian style on the couch next to a like a slick back Cadillac looking kind of friend of his that might have been on a few drugs or something.
I tried to figure out who that guy was.
I did too.
It's like going down a rabbit hole.
He sings a good harmony.
Yeah.
And he plays a good guitar. And he wears his shades inside. So, he was like really feeling good.
I thought it was Rick Astley for a long time, but I'm not really sure.
I don't think it was, but I can see where you'd confuse that, yeah.
Yeah.
He was as good looking.
Either that or Kenny Chesney, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, pre head shave. It could be him. But no, this guy was like, both good looking guys, Jim and this guy. And they performed this song. I don't know if this song exists anywhere else.
This song is it's super rare.
And I think Jim wrote it. I've looked it up because I keep giving him credit. I tell everyone about this song. It's a beautiful song, but I'm like, did he actually write it? I keep saying he wrote it. It's just him singing. He doesn't say he wrote it, but I've never been able to find it, so I think he wrote it.
I thought that I'd found here recently on the internet said that the words were written by Jim Varney, and it was awesome. For his friend, right?
I don't know.
Well, it was for Greg Allman, because it was in response to Cher's song,
I've Got You, Babe.
Yes.
Or Do You Believe in Love? Which one was it?
If I Could Turn Back Time.
Oh, you're right.
Well, what happened was Greg Allman, which good friends again with Jim Varney, he and Cher were an item, and they split, and she wrote a song in response to him and their breakup, and it was called Time Waits on No One. No, yeah. I'm sorry. That's Jim's song.
Right.
If I Could Turn Back Time was Cher's song.
Tune.
And so Jim, being a bud, he had Greg's back.
Right.
And so he wrote that in response. And I think that I'm pretty sure on maybe a Greg Allman CD album record somewhere out there that song was performed, by Greg, but as written by Jim. So.
Right. Oh, that's beautiful. Greg probably would do a hell of a job with that.
Oh, gosh.
But no one tops Jim, and we're not going to try to top Jim today.
Oh, no way.
We just kind of want to continue spreading this song around. All right, so here it comes.
Let's do it.
Okay, so before we play the song, we looked online to make sure we had the right writing credits, because Jim Varney's definitely part of this, but we didn't want to rob anyone of their proper glory. So Mike, fill us in with the writing credits of Time Waits. What is it? Time Waits for No One?
Time Waits for No One.
Yeah.
And the description says a southern rock song in response to Cher's song If I Could Turn Back Time, originally written for Greg Allman's album When the Bullets Fly. So we'll give credit where it's due. Buck Finley and Jim Varney wrote this one for Greg in response to Cher's, Greg's ex-wife, song If I Could Turn Back Time.
Okay. So if Buck Finley, if you're alive and well, credit goes to you, 50-50. Buck Finley and
thanks, brother.
Jim Varney. Yeah, great song. Here it goes. 1, 2, ready, go.
and understanding goes further than the fussing and fighting. Now 2,000 miles away, and your memory still haunts me. Take me back to those days of you, and this time I'll do better. I trade my diamonds and all my money to hold you once again. A love like ours, ununited, has to be a sin. Now I don't mean to come on so strong, but a love like ours can't wait too long on our time. Time waits for no one. Time just keeps on going, and we are no exception to that rule. Now 2,000 miles between us, and a million miles of heartache, and I can't believe that you could be so cruel. I trade my diamonds and all my money to hold you once again. A love like ours, ununited, has to be a sin. Well, I don't mean to come on so strong, but a love like ours can't wait too long on our time. Time waits for no one. Time just keeps on going, and we are no exception to that rule. 2,000 miles between us, and a million miles of heartache, and I can't believe that you could be so cruel. Time waits for no one. Time just keeps on going, and I can't believe that you could be so